Hello everyone, and welcome to the third in my Ronda travel series, Tips, Tricks, Advice, and Reviews. This is the video that will go a little bit more in-depth in all of my recommendations, obviously, and reviews for my trip to Ronda, Spain, in case you want to take some of this advice to make your trip easy. So sit back and we'll get started. For this trip, we flew into Malaga and took the A357 on over to the A367 and then into Ronda. This is a very nice two-lane highway, and it allows you to see some of the more rural areas along the way. It takes about an hour and a half, depending upon traffic. The downside is that it is a two-lane road. There are trucks and slower vehicles that do take this road, so there may be times where you're stuck behind a slow-moving truck for a while before you're able to pass. And I apologize if there's background noise being picked up. The dogs have decided to be good, but they are decided to chew on some of their hard chewies, and I'm sure that my microphone is picking that up, and so I apologize. Life with dogs. So once we got to Ronda, we wanted to stay kind of right where the action is at, and so that kind of meant that I wanted to be able to walk to shopping. I wanted to walk to the a lot of the famous sites, the Puente de Nuevo Bridge, the Plaza de Toros, any of the scenic areas, restaurants, bars, all that kind of stuff. So we chose to stay at the Hotel Catalonia, and I really liked this hotel. This was probably one of the nicer hotels that we stayed at in Spain. The rooms were wonderful, and as you can see by the other video, very luxurious, and the staff there was fabulous. They were very helpful. They pointed out places to go, where the shopping was, all that kind of stuff. And so I'm going to kind of take some of that information and I'm going to put it on this map here so that you can kind of see, exactly what you're going to be around. So as you can see, this is a very central location. It's very easy to get to. There's a good main road there that makes driving to that location very easy. Right across the street from the hotel, right next to the Plaza de Toros, there is a really nice short-term parking where you can park, go in, check in, unload your suitcases and such. And the nice thing about this hotel is that they have a relationship with a couple of the parking garages, and so they'll get you a discounted rate at the garages, and they will even do valet service for you. They'll take your car there and park it for you, and then when you are ready to leave or you want your car, you just need to give them about 20-30 minutes notice. They'll go get your car for you, bring it back, park it over here in this nice little temporary parking spot, and you can walk across the street, get your car, and take off. This is very handy because there are a lot of other nice hotels around town, but they are on very narrow streets. They're in the old part of town. There's not really parking, so that it makes getting to them with a car much harder. Now, the other nice thing about this is if we take a look at the map again here, we'll be able to see that within about 2.5 blocks, you have the Puente de Nuevo Bridge, which is the very famous bridge that you see in a lot of the Ronda pictures. You saw it in my videos. It's 350-ish feet down to the gorge. Beautiful shot. There's restaurants and hotels and bars right along that area, as well as plenty of shopping for gifts and souvenirs right in that area as well. Now, if we go, a couple blocks around that hotel, you're also going to find plenty of shops where there's a lot of nice leather goods. There's great restaurants, clothing, as well as some of the more convenience store type of shops that have things like sandwiches and sodas, and there's coffee shops. There's, plenty of places that have bottled water. So if you want to grab a new bottle of water as you go on your walking adventures, there's plenty of places around there. And there's also a couple of really nice plazas nearby. So if you just want to have a nice relaxing evening, get a couple of drinks, get a meal, sit outside and people watch, there's plenty of places to do that, all within walking distance from this hotel. Also from the hotel, if you go the opposite direction of the Puente Nuevo Bridge, as you're coming out of the hotel looking at the bull ring, it would be to your right. About a block or so down the left-hand side of the street, there is going to be a beautiful park that has been there, I think, since the 1800s. And if you walk through that park, you'll find another overlook down to the gorge, the lower areas around Ronda, and it is an absolutely breathtaking view. I kind of had a little bit of that in my travel videos, so you can kind of see for yourself what to kind of expect from that area. It does have a nice trail also, so it's very well done. It's concrete, it's very wide. There are plenty of overlook spots along the way. So if you just want to go out and have a nice stroll, get some good photography, you can take this trail kind of all the way down, around back behind the bull ring, down into the main gorge by the Puente Nuevo Bridge, up over the bridge, and then go off into the old part of Ronda. Now, if you continue on past the Puente Nuevo Bridge, on the left-hand side, you're going to come into a string of shops that sell various leather goods. You can get anything here from jackets to belts to wallets, pretty much any of the standard type leather goods that you would be looking for. I did find some really nice belts there. The disadvantage of being a big and tall guy is that it was really hard to find a coat. I was really hoping to find a coat while I was in Spain, and we kind of came close a couple of times. But one of the interesting things that I found during this adventure was that size doesn't really mean a whole lot. I've found coats that the size on the coat was larger than another coat, but yet it was several inches smaller. So there are a lot of little shops along here. The coats were the one thing that I didn't have much luck with. As I kind of started to say, depending how this edits, the coat sizes in Spain, or at least here, were very strange. There were several times where I found a coat that had a larger size on the coat, but yet it fit smaller than a coat that I had previously tried on that was a smaller size. So luckily the gentleman that runs the store was very kind of knowledgeable around the names and the inventory that he had. So he had an idea that just because it was a smaller number doesn't necessarily mean it was going to fit smaller. So we did have a lot of opportunities to try on several different sizes and several different styles. I would definitely recommend going there, especially, if you're average size or smaller, because they have a great selection and they had very reasonable prices on those coats. Now, if you continue to go down the street away from the Puente Nuevo Bridge, you will kind of come into the old part of Ronda. And through this area, you're going to find a really nice piazza. You're going to find one of the main churches. And this is also going to be where the Museo de Ronda is, as well as a access point to the trail that goes down into the gorge, and that will give you two of the lower viewpoints for the Puente Nuevo Bridge. I will say that there are parts of this trail that do get kind of rough. It is very old. Parts of it are, paved and cobbled, but the trail itself is rather steep. I'm guessing it's probably about a 45 degree angle in spots. A lot of it does have a nice wide kind of sidewalk, but again, it's cobble. It's a very steep incline. It is stepped, so that makes it a little bit easier, at least going down. But it does get into some spots that are very rough. It's dirt. There are, very large steps. I'm 6'4", and, a couple of the steps, even for my legs, they were quite large, and they were very rough and uneven ground. So if you have any sort of joint issues or balance issues, any sort of, leg things that make that kind of activity hard, then I would probably, try to avoid this. But, definitely work on the incline on the treadmill before doing this, because even the first of the 2 vantage points is still probably about 4 blocks down this path. And going down, like I said, it's not that bad, but coming back up 4 blocks at a 45-degree angle is a whole different muscle groups on the legs. So definitely, work on your incline before this. But once you do get down there, it is a very awesome spot to get a different view of the bridge, and it's a great opportunity to take some photography and videography while you're down there. It can probably get a little crowded. When we went down there, it wasn't too bad, but the first one at least, isn't very big. So if you get 10 or 15, 20 people down there, it's going to be pretty crowded. We didn't get all the way down to the second one just because of the fact that we were running a little bit low on time. So we went to the first of the 2 vantage points, which is the higher of the 2. And the second one was probably another 4 to 6 blocks worth of walking to kind of meander around the trail, as it does cut over to the side and then back again, which ends up making it twice as long. But we didn't get there, unfortunately. I would have liked to have been able to check that out a little bit more. So if you have time, definitely, check that out. Speaking of time, that's one of the things that I think, like a lot of people, I kind of struggle with. You're going someplace new. You're never really quite sure how much time you want to spend there. Do you spend a day? Do you spend 5 days? Do you spend 2 days? It's hard sometimes because it all depends on what you want to do. Me, I usually like to do some sightseeing. I want to have some relaxation time and kind of enjoy life, to kind of see what it's like to be a local there. I want to do some shopping. So it makes it a little bit harder for me to try to figure out how to squeeze all that in. Even with the internet, the modern resources that we have, trying to determine how much sightseeing and shopping is available in an area is difficult. Ronda, for instance, I thought, it's a village. It's very small. We spent a day and a half, and I felt rushed. We definitely didn't see everything that there was to see. The things that we did see, we kind of rushed through. And while we did have a little bit of relaxation, because this was our first stop, I worked in part of the plan that, by the time that we got to our hotel in Ronda, we had been traveling for about 28 hours. That's a pretty long day. We did get some sleep on the plane, but, it's a plane. You don't sleep that great for the most part. You're going, you got all the security checks, you got all the other stuff. You're driving. We got there. I plan on having about 3 hours or so of, get to the hotel, take a nap, take a shower, get freshened up, and then go out. That definitely helped with the jet lag, and I would definitely recommend having that built into any sort of travel schedule when you have a long international flight or a long international travel experience, because, jet lag is never any fun. It ends up ruining part of your day. So it's best to just kind of plan that in, figure taking a half a day, like when you get there, to get to your hotel, get some nap time, take a nice shower, get refreshed, go out, get something good to eat, kind of relax at a local restaurant or a local bar, find a nice plaza if the weather's nice, and kick back, have a few cocktails, and enjoy the night. So, how long should you really spend in Ronda? Well, let's take a look at this two ways. If all you want to do is do some sightseeing, then, and of course maybe some relaxation time, then a day and a half is probably going to be sufficient. If you want to do some sightseeing, especially try to see all the sites, take your time, do a more in-depth review of everything, you want to go through and do some shopping, you want to have time to relax and just kind of sit down, have a few cocktails, do some people watching, I would say 3 to 4 days then is going to be a more realistic expectation of how long that you can spend in Ronda and still really not feel like you're bored or that you're wasting time. One other thing to remember about Ronda is it is a tourist spot. So it's a pretty popular tourist spot, especially during the high seasons. So what that means is that if you're going to be there, you want to try to get out and get going a little bit earlier, because about 10:30, 11 o'clock, all the big tour buses come in, and I was rather surprised, but I mean, it's literally that you're inundated with tourists. You can just see the line of tourists coming down the street. And it was really amazing because we did get out and we're around town at, 9:30 with the locals. We wanted to kind of see what a day in the life of someone that lives in Ronda is like. And first thing we noticed is that shops open up about 10:30. You do have some of like the more coffee shop, little restaurants, that sort of thing that are open already at 9:30. But for the most part, if you want to do any sort of actual shopping, 10:30 is going to be about that time. The other part of it is that was really interesting is that when you're out and about before 10:30, 11 o'clock, it is very calm, it's very relaxing, it's very laid back, and there is probably, a tenth of the people on the street that you're going to see once all the tourists get up and going, the tourist buses come in and drop people off, because the amount of people that are going to be in the streets is tenfold once that happens. And like I said, it is kind of amusing to watch if you're sitting back and all of a sudden this big wave of people starts coming down the street. You know that a couple of the tour buses have pulled up and unloaded people because they're definitely not locals and they weren't there before. The other nice thing is that in the evening, if you're going to be able to stay there for a few days, try to wait until a little bit later in the evening to go out for your evening meal, so that you can really truly experience Ronda as a local would. Because later on in the evening, it seemed probably about between 7 and 8 o'clock, if I remember right, a lot of the tourists were gone. It was mainly just the locals. It was the tourists that were actually staying in Ronda. And that's, one of the big things too. There are several hotels that do fill up really fast. So if you are planning to go to Ronda, I would try to plan your trip as far out as possible so that you can get a good hotel that's within walking distance of, all the important things. It'll make life a lot more enjoyable while you're there. And for me, that's a huge part of staying in any kind of foreign city is experiencing the culture, and it's a lot easier to do that if you're right kind of in the heart of everything. So once the evening comes, a lot of the big tour buses load up. They go back to probably Malaga, I'm guessing, and that is going to allow you a lot more quiet time. You can walk the streets and really see the relaxed life that is Spain. The Spanish really have the quality of life, the relaxing, attitude kind of down. Everything was so much less stressful when it was just down to the locals, but that's a lot of the European lifestyle, I think. One of the nice things about Ronda for us was that it made it real easy to fit into our travel plans for this entire trip. Now, we flew into Malaga, like I said, so it took about an hour and a half drive to get to Ronda, and then after we were done with Ronda, we wanted to go to Tarifa, so it worked out really nice that it ends up being about a 2.5 hour drive to Tarifa. When you leave Ronda, you go out on the A397, and then we took that all the way down to the AP7, which runs along the coastline. And the AP7 is a toll road, so you do have to pay a couple euros for the toll to use that road, but you will get higher speeds. It is a 4-lane highway equivalent to like an interstate in the United States, something like, Italy's superhighways, that sort of thing. Very well, maintained road, higher speeds. They tunnel through, the mountains and such. So it ends up being, about 30 minutes shorter by taking the toll road. And that's one thing that I will recommend from my time, throughout Europe, is a lot of times there's an option for taking a road where you have to pay and taking a non-toll road. The nice thing about the toll roads is, like I said, they're usually nicer, they're faster, they're, 4 lanes, 2 in each direction, so passing is much easier. They also have stops along the way, so that in case you need to use the restroom, you need to get gas, you want to grab something to drink or a bite to eat, those are going to be a lot more accessible from the toll roads than what they may be from a non-toll road. Now, the A397 from Ronda down to the AP7 is a beautiful view. It's a very, again, 2-lane highway on the mountainside. It's twisty, it's turny. Always a chance you can get caught behind a big truck. We did. There was probably about 7 cars in front of us. And we're kind of stuck there for a while doing about 40 miles an hour. But it's very scenic. There are several spots along the way where you can stop off and take pictures. We made a couple of those into the video, so you can kind of see a couple of the little areas there. So be prepared. It's a 2-hour trip. We didn't really find many places to pull off for like a restroom or gas or anything like that. So I would plan on, a 2-hour drive with no gas, no restroom, no place to stop off for food or drink. Enjoy it, kick back, relax, enjoy the view, because it is definitely a great view. The AP7, like I said, it's a very efficient road. There are some great views going along there, especially when you get closer to getting into Tarifa. There's a couple of really nice overlook spots. One of them actually has a little cafe that has restrooms and food and drink, and you can kind of sit down and have like some seating area bar, and it overlooks the Mediterranean, and you can see Africa across the other side of it. It's a gorgeous view, especially if the weather is nice, the sun is out, it's not hazy. It's a great spot for pictures in through that area. Well, I think that about wraps it up for the tips, tricks, and advice part of the review. Now, I will say, as far as the actual review spot goes, like I said, the 2 main things that I will review in this is going to be the Hotel Catalonia Ronda. Out of 5 stars, I think they definitely get a 4.5 star. The rooms were very clean. It was nice because they apparently had a corner suite open up before we got there, so they gave us a chance to, if we wanted to upgrade for 30 euros per night to that corner suite from our standard room, and we decided to try it, see what it was like. And for me, it was definitely worth the upgrade. I mean, the beds were by far the best beds that we slept on in Spain. The staff there is fabulous. It's in an amazing location. They have a pool top terrace with a great view of Ronda. It overlooks the bull ring. You get to see some of the nice, the town itself. I got a nice panoramic shot in my video of Ronda from the pool top terrace. That doesn't sound right. From the top of the hotel, we got into the pool. It was a little cold. I will say it was kind of overcast. The weather was, a little bit cooler then, so the water was cold. But even if it's too cold to actually go swimming, they do have I'm not going to call it a hot tub because it wasn't hot. I will call it a warm tub. It's slightly warmer than the pool was. But like I said, if nothing else, go up to the very top. Don't worry if you don't want to swim or if it's too cold. Go up there for the view. It is beautiful. They also have a nice little bar and restaurant that has a nice terrace that overlooks the bull ring and that side of the hotel. It's in a perfect location to be able to have the vast majority of Ronda within easy walking distance, and the shops, the bars, the restaurants, the plazas. You can park your car. You don't ever have to worry about needing your car until you are ready to leave. Everything is, like I said, very walkable. There was never really a point that, short of coming back up from the gorge, that I ever felt like exhausted from walking. Everything just seemed to flow really nice. For the most part, it is pretty flat, which is also very nice. And there's enough shade in different areas. There's enough little bars and restaurants that, for the most part, in any direction that you walk, if you want to, if you're getting tired or you're getting thirsty, you'll be able to sit down and grab something to eat or drink or just kind of relax and watch the people. So I definitely recommend them. I'm sure there's a lot of other great hotels that are in that area. I mean, we saw probably a dozen of them when I was looking to book our hotel. A lot of them were already sold out. We booked our trip about 6 months in advance. And we went in end of September. So it's kind of coming off the high season. It's still maybe slightly part of the high season. But, even then, 6 months in advance, we didn't have a whole lot of selection. So I would say if you're going to go to Ronda, if you're going anywhere around the high season, plan on booking at least 6 months in advance if you want to get a really good hotel and get it right in an area that you're going to be able to easily see everything. The other thing that I absolutely loved about Ronda, the Museo de Ronda was great. A lot of the restaurants and a lot of the leather shops that are around there are also great. The one thing that I was a little disappointed of is I didn't really find a lot of street art. We looked around. Most of the European cities we've been to, you're going to find artists out on, especially around the really popular tourist attractions that are out there sitting there, they're painting their art of whatever it is that they're around. And I've started to get in a habit of collecting that art. Some of it you can see back here on the wall behind me from my trip to Florence. I love it. It's a great way to get something special, but we didn't really find a lot of it at Ronda. I did find a really cool art studio that was probably about half a block down the street from the hotel, right across from the bull ring still, but they do etchings. And they have some really cool Ronda etchings, and I picked up a couple while I was there. They will show you the process. It's very cool. They're very reasonably priced, so I definitely recommend stopping into them. I will try to get the name of them and get that down at the end of this, so that in case you want to make a stop there, that you can see specifically what the name of it was. Well, I think that about wraps up this tips, tricks, and advice video. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave some comments with your question. I'll do my best to answer it. Hopefully this was able to provide you with some additional information to help make planning your trip to Ronda easy and to make your time in Ronda more enjoyable. As always, please hit that subscribe button down over there to my left, your right. If you liked the video, if you thought this was helpful, please give me the thumbs up. Those things, kind of work in with all the metrics of the YouTube universe, and it helps to make my videos easier to find, and it helps to make them more accessible to everyone that's looking for the things that I'm talking about. And my goal is always to try to present as much information and be as helpful as I can to all you guys out there, and to make all of your trip planning easy. So, thank you again for watching everything, and we'll see you on the next adventure.